Welcome, everyone. It's so good to be together every week on Wednesdays. I'm Canay and the founder of RegenerateX. Um, I'm a steward of RX Codes. There is a program for regenerative innovation. Through RegenerateX, the intention is to work with leaders, organizations, and governments and creative systems to evolve how we learn, how we lead, how we govern, circulate, and grow in alignment with life, with nature's principles. The RX codes, they are not like a prescription, although RX stands for it. It stands for regenerative codes, a new operating system, not based on control, but on coherence, not on scale, just for the sake of growth, but resonance. These codes are invitations to unfold one by one each week, leading us toward our annual gathering in Ibiza Heartmasters in May on the 25th till 31st of May. The idea is to grow as a body of regenerative innovation collective where these codes are applied in business, in policy, design, and leadership. And we like not to keep them as theories, but as living practices. So welcome to this session. You are invited from this session to participate with your questions, also with maybe invitations to how we can practice this together. We started 3 weeks ago with the RX code, meta code, RX0. Banu was here. She was one of our guides bringing human design. And with Marcus, we looked at the consciousness map of Hawking and looked into me to we to unity concept and how we can practice it. Because we say the mind of the creator is the basis of everything. So we always start with consciousness and before we start talking about the tools. Then 2 weeks ago, we moved to intelligence code RX1, where we honored the intelligence not as information systems, but as a property of life itself, and how AI and true intelligence can be the nervous system of nature. And we had Ruben Daniels and we had Lorana Scarpioni, where we talked about the love language model and regenerative AI. Then last week, with RX2, the governance code, we had Niels de Fruger and we had Joshim Stroh, where we talked about the digital adaptable organizations, intergenerational and interspecies governance, where we redefined governance not as control, but as coherence, and we had a practice of how we can do it from inside out. And today we arrive in the body of the system, the breath, the beat, the RX3, the circulatory code, because without circulation, intelligence suffocates, governance becomes very rigid, and systems collapse. And here today I have Marc Buckley with me, who is a regenerative futurist, systems architect, and I couldn't think of anyone better who can talk about the circulatory code, not just in economies, but also in intelligence, nutrition. So that's why, because of his multi-skill approach, multi-discipline approach to circulation, I invited him and he kindly said yes. Meanwhile, let me take in more people and so welcome, Marc. It's great to have you. Let me do a little introduction. Hello, everyone. Welcome, Amy, Christina, Mackenzie. So today we are going to talk about the RX code 3, which is the code for circulation. And we have Marc Buckley. For those who don't know him, he's a regenerative futurist, a systems architect, and one of the most committed and certain voices for redesigning a global economy as a living system without sacrificing on the profit or the well-being or the impact. So he's quite remarkable on that. He has been working with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. He has helped redesigning food systems and advocated for resilient energy networks and is actively shaping the shift from sustainability to regeneration. And Mark, you always say we must stop trying to save the old systems and start designing new ones. That's why tonight we will explore what that actually looks like, not just in theory, but as I invited you in practice and in movement. Before I give the word to you, Mark, I want to also honor one thing that is very important for today, for my country, especially. I'm from Turkey, and right now my country is going through a lot of transformation. And it's very interesting because we are talking about circulation, but in Turkey today there is a very powerful boycott movement emerging. It's an intentional act of withholding energy, attention, and resources from systems that perpetuate harm to people and to the country. So it's interesting to bring the circulation and boycott together, but I believe it's not a passive act. It's a very nonviolent and peaceful activation, and it's a circulatory intelligence in motion. Just like nature sometimes holds her breath in winter to prepare for spring, sometimes the most regenerative thing we can do is pause, to interrupt flow in order to reset it. So we are not alone. Around the world, we are seeing circulatory resistance, communities creating microeconomies, informal food systems, energy co-ops, cultural repair work. A lot of things are shifting in big industries. These are all signs of a deeper shift from extraction to circulation. So I also wanted to honor that and made it today be an act of a peaceful activation in any form or shape. So while we are talking, please feel free to share your questions in the chat box. We will have activations where each person will be able to participate with your questions or insights. Welcome again, Mark. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks so much. It's so wonderful to be here, and I'm glad all the people who are able to make it, even though trouble is going on in Turkey. I know you have a lot of followers and people from Turkey who attend your RX sessions and things, and so my thoughts are definitely going out to them. I'll tell you, they're not alone. It's that way all around the world. Last year, I was in 31 countries and did 287 events, and was only home about 58 days. And I saw places all over the world and people, cultures, and politics. And the world is in turmoil. It's not just Turkey. It's not just the Trump apocalypse. It's not just the Bolsonaros, the Shays, the Putins, the Palestine or the Ukraine or the Russia. We could go on because it's that way every place on earth. I just flew back from Salt Lake City, Utah to Hamburg, Germany, where I'm at now. And even on the plane, even at the airports, it's although there's nothing specifically going on in those places, it's chaos. It's people are really uncertain, unaware on what does a world that works for everyone look like for them. They're unaware of what's the plan, what direction we're going on. So I love to see that people are getting together to try to do some actions and things that will help shift the the tides and get us into that regenerative future. But it's not only there. But I'm so glad to be here, and I'm glad we can have this time to talk. I wanted to ask you, do you want me to just answer your questions directly? Would you like me to show some slides to make it more visual and give people a little bit more filling into things? How do you see our session going?
So my vote is always both. I'm not an either-or person, but in order to circulate the energy a little bit here, I would like to do a little vote. Who would like to see slides? 2, 3, 4. By the way, Mark's slides are really nice. They are not like boring PowerPoints. Okay, I see a lot of hands and hearts on. And who would like to have also some interactive conversations, questions and answers? Yes, yes, yes. So both. Why don't we do like 15 minutes slides, Mark? And then we can have some conversation, some questions and answers, because I'm very curious to ask you some questions. How
Perfect.
does it sound?
That's absolutely perfect. So if you'll give me the request to share, I'll start off with a couple slides just to set us into the circularity and to get us off and to get us into that, to connect us back to the source and get us really on the path to where we're at and why we're here. I'm going to turn on the sound because there should be some sound as well, hopefully. And if you need to give me feedback, because once I turn this on, I won't be able to see you.
Okay.
But I want to know if you see two slides or one slides, and if you can and hear me and everything. Do you see one or two slides?
One.
Perfect. Have you ever heard "We Are All Stardust"? It's really famous. It comes from Carl Sagan, but we've heard it many other places. We are all stardust. Basic elements of life are found in stars and the makeup of our bodies. Matter of fact, more than 90% of the elements in our bodies are the basic elements of life: oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen. And this is from a good friend of mine, Pablo. He went really deep in just how much of the human body is made up of star stuff, and more than 90%. This is kind of like the basic periodic table and elements of all that star stuff that's in our bodies. Carl Sagan, like I mentioned, said the nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our apple pies were all made in the interiors of collapsing stars. We are all made of star stuff.
The single greatest gift that astrophysics has brought civilization is the discovery back in 1957 by 4 authors. No movies are made about them because it's 4 of them, not just one. And we romanticize the lone researcher burning the midnight oil. This is 4 scientists working for a decade to get this result. They realized that the elements on the periodic table that we might remember from chemistry class owe their origin to thermonuclear fusion in the cores of stars. Fusion, light elements under high temperatures coming together to make heavy elements. If they only stayed in stars, that would not be interesting. But these particular stars also happen to explode and scatter this enrichment across the galaxy. And this enrichment, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, silicon, all of these elements scatter into gas clouds that then collapse and form next generation star systems, one of which was ours. Yeah. So the very ingredients that comprise life are traceable to stars. So they gave their lives billions of years before we arrived. So we are stars? So we are not only figuratively, but quite literally stardust. Wow.
So this is an Earthrise photo, our Earth, and it gives about 500 or more, maybe now with Elon and SpaceX. There's been more people, probably a little bit over 500 people that have seen this overview effect or cosmic perspective of our Earth from outer space. But they say it gives us this grand shift in understanding and consciousness and feelings for our planet, that we're all on the same spaceship. I show you about the basic elements, and I have Neil deGrasse Tyson help me with that a little bit, for you to understand that star stuff. We all came from this planet. We crawled out of the primordial soup. The formation of this planet was with that star stuff. and the formation of our bodies, and we crawled out of this primordial soup of our earth. And so not only are we all indigenous, but none of us were dropped off here from spaceship Germany or spaceship Turkey or spaceship USA. We really crawled out of that primordial soup. And so I want you to connect yourself to our earth, but also I want to ask you the question, what is this picture? What is this image? How do we have it? Well, it's the second catalog image of our planet. It's called the Blue Marble. It was taken by NASA 1972. But it is innovation. The answer to that question is this picture, sheer innovation. Had we not gone to the stars, had we not gone to outer space, we wouldn't even have this picture. So without innovation, we wouldn't even know that we're on one spaceship all by ourselves, one planet by ourselves, and we wouldn't even understand that we actually crawled out of this earth. And that innovation is something that we have every single day. The heartbeat, the pulse, the lifeblood. Every second of the day, we have thousands of satellites looking back at our earth, giving us vital data of what's going on, this heartbeat of our earth, that we can do something with. So I want you to know that never before in human history have we transformed from one epoch or era to another age, from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age, or any age or epoch, without innovation. The pneumatic tire, the steam engine, the printing press. So innovation, the stars, not going there, not living somewhere else, gives us a profound shift, this cosmic perspective of life on Earth and how life started and how precious it is. So that was Carl Sagan, and you might have known his show, The Cosmos. But did you know that his first wife, or Lynn Margulis's first husband, was Carl Sagan? He talked about the cosmos and she talked about the microcosmos. She turned the scientific community on its head, discovering numerous things about the microcosmos, about this symbiotic planet and where we came from and our relationship to fungus and microbes in the microbial world and mycelium and mycorrhiza. And there's a reason I'm going down this path, and then I will shut up and connect the dots some more with Canay. This is the timeline of our Earth, from the birth of our Earth to today. And you see these little pockets, right? Those are mass extinctions. And the last one on the far right is when the dinosaurs went extinct from the asteroid that hit the Yucatan Peninsula. But the birth of our Earth started, the first form of life on Earth started with bacteria, as you can see on the left. And it goes the entire span of our Earth birth to today. And then humans come somewhere a lot later on the right side as they emerge. This is the bacteria tree of life. And I show you this because I just showed you the slide before that life on Earth started with bacteria. This bacterial tree of life is, more importantly, I'm showing it to you because it wasn't even discovered until 2015. And what was discovered on it was this purple section in the top right. And the majority of that bacteria, of the bacterial tree of life that they didn't even discover until 2015, the majority of it is in our body. It's on our skin and our nose, our ears, our stomach. It's on our body, and they didn't even discover or know about it until 2015. And the other place they discovered it was in places like Yellowstone and the geysers, where there was these geothermal hot pots, so to say, the primordial soup of our Earth that's still bubbling underground. And we realized that the same bacteria that is discovered on our bodies and our gut is the same bacteria discovered in the core of our earth that's billions of years old. Have you ever heard the saying, I have this gut feeling, or that the gut is the second brain, or that it's the new brain, so to say? We have more bacteria on our body, more kingdoms of bacteria and fungus on our body that you just wouldn't believe it. This chart's a little outdated, so you'll have to forgive me, but it is close in relationship. We have more than 100 trillion microbial cells on our body, in our body, and just under 30 trillion human cells, just a little bit above the knees. Microbial genes are under 2 million, and human genes are just under 23,000. But there's been a new discovery that happened in 2019 that just 1 centimeter of our intestines has more microbial history, genes, cells, and information than humans have ever lived on planet Earth before in all time.
Soil is a living miracle. In one handful of soil, there are more organisms than there are humans on Earth. And we are only beginning to understand this vast network of beings right beneath our feet. We rely on healthy soil for 95% of what we eat. Yet, we take it for granted. Thousands of years of plowing, deforestation, and erosion.
To racial, sexual, and religious chauvinism, and to rabid nationalist fervor are beginning not to work. A new consciousness is developing which sees the Earth as a single organism and recognizes that an organism at war with itself is doomed. We are one planet.
So I'll stop the slides there and come back to the question, but I wanted to set the tone to let you know that we crawled out of that primordial soup. We are an heirloom species of this planet, and we emerged on the scene through a process of regeneration, symbiotic process of regeneration. And like I said, just 1 small centimeter of our intestines, of our gut, has more microbes than there's ever been humans who've lived on planet Earth. We won the lottery to be here. We really, truly won the lottery. I think it's 14 something squared quadrillion chances, likelihood of being born is how we got here. And so before I turn it over to Canay to ask me the question, I want you to do one last kind of social experiment with me after I've given you this information. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think of your home. And this is the only reason I have you close your eyes, but the minute it comes into your mind, maybe you can see things, you can smell things, you get a feeling or an emotion of your home, and it's in your mind's eye, please open your eyes. Thank you for indulging me, and I want to ask how many of you on this call saw this image as your home? Okay, 2, maybe 3. Like I told you, I travel around the world quite a bit, and I've asked last year alone 500 million people that question. Less than 0.001% of everybody I asked raised their hand. And that's okay. So we got a couple more. Great. That's okay. It's not to shame you or to make you feel bad. It's because we all decorate our home different. We have different opinions of that. But I want you to know we are all on the same planet. We not only are we all on the same planet, this is all our own home, but we all crawled out of this same primordial soup. Maybe many generations later, but we weren't dropped off by anywhere else. And the divisions, the politics, and all the things that are going on in the world we're discussing, they're ones that we've created, the ones that we've made, but they're not regenerative. They're not symbiotic. They're not meant for division. When I mentioned Lynn Margulis and Carl Sagan, the biggest discovery and thing from Lynn Margulis was that she said, we've misunderstood the meaning, what Darwin meant with natural selection, survival of the fittest, only the strong survive. That is not how the world has ever worked, but the way the world does work and will continue to work with or without human beings is a process of symbiosis and regeneration. It's one of cooperation and collaboration. And that's what we're here to talk about, that circularity, that symbiosis, that regeneration, and the models and the principles and the definitions of what that truly means, because it's not a buzzword. It's as old as our planet. And it's about, for us as humans, it's about as old as we've been around on this planet. And they're now saying between 3.4 million years, where they originally thought 2.4 million years. Okay, Janai, that was my stopping point of an introduction to get us all on the same page.
There we start. Thank you, Mark. Now we know. Now we remember where we are coming from. And there is nowhere to go but to be here. And I'm very, very grateful. Thank you. This was a beautiful introduction. So with that, I think when we are reminded, we all know and can tap into this feeling of we are one and we are in this together and life is the most valuable. And I think our challenge is to remember it, because there are a lot of times that we forget, especially when we are in meeting rooms where the competition and the analysis for, how we can beat the competition in what I'm doing, how I can innovate faster based on some reductionist performance metrics that does not include most of the things that you have shared with us, Mark. And because you have been in boardrooms, you have been in a lot of strategy conversations, guiding leaders in different organizations, governments. I'm curious what also Eric left us as a question. As we are moving and seeing more examples of regenerative systems in business, education, leadership, or in economies, when things get scarce and emergency, and when we see a lot of polarization, a lot of people are still dependent on the legacy structures that are not designed to regenerate life or to prioritize, even use the language that we are using right now, such as feelings, such as love. When I start saying fungi, mycelium as an example, I see sometimes eyes rolling over, and I love that we are starting here. But my curiosity is, how do we start building the new while still surviving or transitioning through from the old, especially for those who feel ready to leap? How do we make that shift without burning out, dropping out, or leaving people behind? What are some of the things that you are observing as patterns or signals of hope, or the most impactful points of intervention or invitation or inspiration?
So there's quite a few things I can say to that. You mentioned earlier about old and new systems. And it actually it's a quote from our Buckminster Fuller. He said, instead of fighting bad existing systems, just create a new system that makes the old ones obsolete. And then he also had another quote that says, the majority of our life should be spent, or he was sad that the majority of his life was spent unlearning all the things that were taught in school that were not true. And so I would say, first of all, the way I started out, we need to unlearn a lot of the shit we've been taught, and a lot of the things we hear in business. It's not how life has ever worked. That's this neo-Darwinism, neoliberalism, survival of the fittest, only the strong survive, severe competition. That's not how the world has ever worked. That's how it works for very few. The way life inherently works is through symbiosis, which means cooperation, collaboration, one with another in partnership. I want to give you a bigger example to that. So symbiosis is a word I use a lot, and hopefully you're familiar with the term, but symbiosis is an ecological phenomenon and is the fastest form of human evolutionary innovation the world has ever seen. It goes beyond super exponential into what we call quantum tunneling. And I want to break that down because it might sound like a word soup or a word salad and kind of big and unfathomable. In all living systems, you and I are living systems, plants, species, bees, birds, mycelium, mycorrhiza, they're all living systems. In biology, ecology, environment, all living systems and their subsystems. 1 + 1 never, never, ever, ever will equal 2. In all living systems and their subsystems, ecology, biology, you and me, 1 + 1 has never equaled 2. It's always a super exponential, and it verges on quantum tunneling. You're like, what the fuck? They're saying quantum tunneling again. What the hell does that mean? I want you to know the reason we have quantum computers and this fear that we're going to have quantum supremacy and the computers are going to take us over is totally false, because we're quantum mechanical beings. We're living beings. The reason we started to get quantum computers is because of the Green Revolution. We couldn't figure out how in the hell a plant does photosynthesis, create oxygen, capture carbon, give us food, heal the soils, and numerous other quantum mechanical things at the same time, that we're like, how in the hell could, what? And so we said, we need a quantum computer to do all this complexity and get all this math in there so we can figure out, how is this plant doing all this complex stuff? And that was the beginning of us creating quantum computers and starting to think. And we created fertilizer and so we could grow more food. The quantum computer is because of the Green Revolution. But I want you to know, we're quantum mechanical beings with plants and species, and we have been for at least 3.4 million years as human beings. But the natural world, plants, mycelium, fungi, it has been that way for at least 3.8 billion years. It has been doing quantum mechanical processes. And like I said in the beginning, we come from star stuff. We're part of that. We have those microorganisms. We have that capability, and we can make those quantum leaps if we stop using reductionism of human beings, if we stop mechanizing human beings and our processes, separating ourselves with borders, walls, languages, and politics and stuff that doesn't work like living systems in the natural world. There's one more thing I need to add to that. And I said it on our Instagram live the other day. I used to teach for a long time as a coach and self-help this work-life balance. And I have to apologize if any of you were a part of that, and to those who may hear this, that I did teach that to, because it was pure bullshit. Work-life balance doesn't exist. It's never, ever existed. There is only life. If you're one person or one thing in life and another person at work or in your work life, you're probably having a burnout. You're probably bipolar, schizophrenic, on the verge of going crazy, because you can't separate life into boxes. You can't use reductionism or mechanization. We're living human beings every second of our life. And we're evolving and growing and experiencing all the time. There is only life. We're not in the business of business. We're in the business of life. There is only life, and it's an evolution of how we live life on earth. And when we understand that, we apply those principles that are not woo-woo. They're not woo-woo and some kind of weird thing that a lot of business people and bookkeepers and accountants and capitalists get scared of. They're not scared because they don't like the woo-woo. They get scared because they know that's the real model of how life is so successful and does quantum mechanical things. If you can harness those regenerative principles, that symbiosis and living systems into your life and into your daily work and organization and all you do, you will make quantum leaps. You will be healthy, well, successful. You will get those things that you want to do, and it's not woo-woo. It is the real model of how life on Earth works. So when we say the old to the new, I think that's part of the unlearning that we need to do, because it's actually the old is the model that it will continue even after human beings are gone. It's the model of regeneration, of symbiosis, of cooperation and collaboration, real living systems design in everything that we do. When we have a political decision or when we have a decision that needs to be made, it doesn't take years or months to make that decision. It's in real time because it's a living system. We don't have years, months to make these decisions because we're living life. We're not saying, I'll deal with that next week when I get back to work and punch the clock. That's not how life works. And the more we create our models in a regenerative way that's symbiotic with how life has always worked, then that's when we'll make those quantum leaps. And so for me, I don't want to poo-poo the old, but the old was something we need to unlearn, because we're not reducing humans and we're not mechanizing humans or the natural world or other species. We're coming together in symbiosis for quantum leaps. And those people who do that, you see, they're successful as hell.
I love that. It also is a great reminder. You're talking about quantum mechanics, and we are talking about consciousness as well. It's all in the way that we are thinking, even the old, the new, the time, inside me, outside of me, you. So starting there, and this is the entire journey. And it's a responsibility, and it's a loving, caring responsibility, not as an obligation. I think one of the challenges that we are living, we do business sometimes out of obligation, not out of love. So it becomes business for money instead of business as living it. My business is to be alive and to come alive and to create systems that allows others to come alive. So this is why I'm here as Canay. And if you can really taste that, and you don't need to even think and mentalize and structure business models and cultures, but you become a beaming light. So I like that, how not answering the question, you answered it all.
Thank you.
And we have Amy. She's a dear friend, and she's so passionate about her amazing platform, technology platform, SDGs, and she's in US. I would like to invite her to ask her question directly to you, Mark. Amy, would you like to come in and ask your question, please?
I'd love to know what you see happening for investment in business here, which represents a lot of wealth, represents a lot of opportunity and there's compliance issues for companies here where if they want to do business around the world, they need to integrate these systems. Yet we have this headwind that is stating, so we're looking at is like free market value and added features and things like that. So there's been a transition in how we're approaching it, risk, compliance, things like that. So I'm curious what you see happening around the investment and business space here and globally within this shift, and what is the conversation in these spaces that you are aware of?
Okay, that's a big question, and I could probably give a master class on that for a couple of weeks. I want to put it into perspective and also tie it back to kind of the question is about capital and money as well. So the Sustainable Development Goals only have 5 years left. So come June, 4 years and 6 months left until they're over with, and the Paris Agreement's over with as well. But I have to apologize to you all again. I wrote the Sustainable Development Goal Manifesto for the United Nations, and I did that for a reason. For a couple reasons. One, they were presented to us in the wrong way. And when I talk to people about the Sustainable Development Goals, the majority of people don't know what they are, who they're for, what they're about. And a lot of people who do know over time, regardless of the Trumpocalypse or whatever else is going on, have thought it's been a Klaus Schwab conspiracy theory of the World Economic Forum, or it's a way to make some money or take over the world. I just would like to first dispel some fears or some misunderstandings and clear that up for you. And I need to ask a couple more questions to do that. And maybe you don't need to answer. You can just kind of think about them in your mind, or if you haven't. I want you to think about, let's take sustainable development aside, and let's just say, what is development? Well, development is a capitalistic economy. It's an extractive economy, but it's also the built environment. It's real estate, residential, commercial, infrastructure, it's schools, universities, hospitals, residential, commercial. It's the built environment. That's development. And regular development is what we call a high carbon scenario. It's a very extractive and capitalistic economy. It's one of the world's largest economies. And just in that 15-year period of time of the Sustainable Development Goal time from 2015 to 2030, December 31st, 2030, that 15-year period, regular development, the built environment, infrastructure, is an 89 trillion US dollar global economy, 89 trillion. But it's a high carbon scenario. That means we build the world that we live in the same way we did in the Industrial Revolution. High material costs, high resources, high loss of life, a lot of wasted materials. We build it. We let a building go up for a couple years, and then when we want to build something new, we tear it down and just build it like normal, or we build a road or highway, and then when it's no longer usable, we just go back and build it how we've always built it. That's regular development. Infrastructure, the built environment, how we live, high carbon scenario, and that's an economy, a capitalistic extractive economy of 89 trillion US dollars. So now let's ask the question again, what is sustainable development? Well, it's the built environment, but it's not a capitalistic or extractive economy. It's an ecological economy, and it is 94 trillion US dollars in that same 15-year period of time. but it's what we call the low carbon scenario. That means we use circular economy, LEEDs, BREEAM, ISO standard, US Green Building standard. That means we use the WELL standard, the living system standard, and any new materials like hemp and maybe low carbon concrete, or we use different materials in circular economy, cradle to cradle processes to get it down. Now, is it perfect? Absolutely not. It's not perfect. It's a stepping stone to build a foundation for a little step better in a low carbon scenario, sustainable built environment, infrastructure. That means we have more equality. We have more people have renewable energy. We have more people have housing. We have more people have energy. We have good health and well-being, no poverty, quality education, infrastructure, innovation. So the SDGs and sustainable development are the basic needs of how we want to live. That's why the UN came up with it. It's evolution. It's really development is evolution of how we want to live life on Earth. Do we redecorate our house, use more efficiencies? Do we just move in and we never do anything, never paint it, never clean it, never keep it up, get better windows, more insulation, go from kerosene to natural gas or oil, or from that to renewables or to other forms of energy? What are our schools? Do we even have schools? Do we have transportation? All those things. That's what sustainable development is. It's not for anybody. It's not a charity thing. It's just the built environment. So a lot of people say it's these bubble gum colors. It's not for cities. It's not for countries. It's not for politicians. It's for you and I. It's the basic needs. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I do have a slide. I'm going to just quickly show you that. Okay. You can see that one slide. That's how we were presented with them, very linear and lateral, 1 to 17. This is the Sustainable Development Goal Manifesto that I wrote for the United Nations. The reason I wrote it is if we achieve all the goals, wouldn't you want to know what that feels like to achieve them? And so I wanted to write a manifesto to say, if we achieve the goals, this is what the world will look like. I wish I could have created a video or made it more visual, but imagine a world by December 31st, 2030, where there is no poverty and zero hunger. We have good health and well-being, quality education, and full gender equality everywhere. There is clean water and sanitation for everyone. Affordable and clean energy has created decent work and regenerative economic growth. Our prosperity is fueled by investments in regenerative industry, innovation, and infrastructure, and that has reduced inequalities. We live in sustainable cities and communities, and responsible consumption and production has healed our planet. Climate action has stopped and reversed the warming of our planet, and we have flourishing life below water and abundant, diverse life on land. We enjoy peace and justice through strong institutions and have built long-term partnership for the goals. This manifesto is a call to action, a commitment to never cease developing, striving, and evolving for a better world. But it is not the end goal. It is only till 2030, and it's just a foundation, a stepping stone. This is really how we should have presented the Sustainable Development Goals to everybody, with like this wedding cake azote, this pyramid. The bottom layer is the biosphere. It's how we get all the resources to build or do anything on our Earth. It's if we don't have that biosphere, we can't make computers, cars, we can't grow food, none of that. So it really needs to protect that, so that this next layer, the society layer, so that we can have schools and education and food and good health and well-being and infrastructures and communities. And then lastly, to feed the economy. And then there's that big partnership for the goals at the end. And this is really how we need to look at it. I'll show you this. This is my own version that I'm wearing here that I designed, where the biosphere's on the bottom, protected by climate action, societies on the side, and then economy on the top wings, protected by that atmosphere of that symbiotic partnership for the goals. And really, it's for each and one of us. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Who's that for? Well, it's the basic needs of human beings. The bottom layers, physiological and safety, breathing, food, water, sex, sleep, homeostasis, excretion, security of body, security of employment, resources, family, health, property. Those bottom layers, that's basically everything that's in the SDGs. It's for you and me to have the basic resources. So for people to fight against it, to complain about it, is just baffling to me, because it says, hey, would you like to live a little cleaner, healthier life? Would you like to make sure that no one on this earth goes suffering or without? Instead of having the haves and have-nots, and that everybody has this equality way of living. And it's really important that we understand that function of that, because that's not the end. Just like before the Sustainable Development Goals, there was other goals called the Millennium Development Goals. Guess what? That would make sense that after the Sustainable Development Goals, there will be other goals. And guess what? Right now, I started this program in 2019 with the United Nations. They're slated to be the Resilient Development Goals. But I have a caveat to you. When I started that program with the United Nations and Resilience Frontiers program, I really wanted regeneration, but it was under the Adaptation and Mitigation and Risk Office of the United Nations, and so they got stuck there. But this year, we're going to submit the Regenerative Development Goals book with Paul Hawken and the same people who did the drawdown, and many other great scientists and researchers, and presented at the UN in September to go to hopefully leapfrog to the Regenerative Development Goals. And that's why I want to talk to you about that, because that's everything that we're kind of in this guise, because we want to go to regenerative development with the principles of regeneration. And the principle of regeneration means to create the conditions that are conducive for life to thrive and flourish amid ever-changing life conditions. That means we live in a net positive future that is in this symbiotic relationship, not only with each other, but with the natural world, and it's an abundant system. Today, I told you about the numbers for regular development and sustainable development. I also said this on our Instagram Live. For regenerative development, there is just regenerative development. Don't misunderstand and think regenerative agriculture. Regenerative development, there is 280 trillion US dollars today. Not in 5 more years, not in 50 more years. Today, 280 plus trillion US dollars just for regenerative development. If I were to talk regenerative agriculture, it's even more than that, 750 trillion US dollars for regenerative agriculture. And it's not a low carbon scenario. It's a net positive, balanced scenario with much higher built environment standards and equality. It's a people planet protection plan that raises the bar on how everybody on Earth lives, travels, eats, and interacts with each other in every organization and business in the world. And it's the model that has definitively, from the UN, World Economic Forum, World Government Summit, European Union, McKinsey and Partners, the Big Five, Deloitte, PricewaterhouseCoopers, the World Bank, the IMF, and I could go on, have done numerous studies that the last 2 years have come out with these reports that are just definitive. That's where we need to go. There is one caveat to everything, to kind of the question, to also to Amy, and to where everything is going, is that in the US, with the Trumpocalypse, with whatever your feelings are, good, bad, or ugly, or anywhere else in the world that they're pulling out of those things, it's initially very it hurts. It's an emotional thing, and it's also like a panic. What in the hell are they doing? That's our future for a better future. And they say, we don't believe in climate change, or we don't believe in the ESG taxonomy from the European Union, which is probably one of the biggest organizations in the world moving towards doing the most for the environment. But it's actually kind of a good thing. And I'll tell you why. Because if you decide to put in tariffs, or you decide to put up borders and walls to block out everybody else from doing something sustainably or regeneratively, or say, I don't believe in environmental social governance, then you're automatically forced to do it yourself. Otherwise, you can't do business. So if Trump decides, or whoever else decides to block out everybody else, says, we don't believe in climate change, we don't believe in that, we're going to bring jobs back to here, and we're going to do everything here, and we're going to have tariffs, and so that people don't want to do business with us. In that process, they'll realize, oh my goodness, we need to produce everything here. We need to educate people and train people. And in that process comes sustainability, regeneration. They'll realize, oh my goodness, we need to protect and start having better stewardship and doing better practices, so that we do that. And in that they say, oh, we're going to sue you, or we're not going to follow ESG, or we're not going to do that. Whatever they do, they actually come back and have to create a system to be self-sustaining, to do it all by themselves. And that in and of itself is sustainable. It's regenerative if they do it truly. I don't think they're going to be able to do it without figuring out, saying, oh, this is, yep, we can do a high carbon scenario, lots of fossil fuels, kill a lot of people, move people out. I just don't think it's possible without that learning lesson. Boy, now we have to be sustainable. Now, if they figure out another way, don't get mad at me. I just don't think it'll happen. I just don't see it that far in the future that they will do it. And we don't have to go underground, because I see that a lot, they might have a different terminology or wording about things, but eventually they're going to make sure that things start to improve. And if they don't, then there's going to be another shift that kind of moves things in that way. Even though the ESG taxonomy is really probably the biggest organization doing the most for the environment, really moving towards regeneration, these better practices. And there are pushbacks. People don't want to do that because of the digital product passport, the human rights due diligence directive, and all the other things coming out of the EU. Asia, believe it or not, is probably doing the most on ESG, even more so than Europe, and they're getting highly on board to be ready and prepared for those tariffs, for those borders, for those things, to make sure that they follow that movement, because they realize it's a better model, and it's an abundant regeneration, and regenerative development is an abundant model. It's not depreciating, it's not devaluating, it's always abundant. And that goes back to what I said, 1 + 1 never equals 2. It's a super exponential, because it's a living system. We've included now regeneration, symbiosis, and living systems into that. And it changes the paradigm on how we look at money. It's more an ecological economy. It's more an abundant model, and it's always growing. So I hope I've answered some things and maybe left out some, because I never have a short answer. If you haven't figured that out, I have this problem. I want to let you drink from the fire hose and give you more information.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Amy, and everyone here. We are in the end of our session. Our formats don't bind Mark, definitely. That's what I'm noticing. But if you are curious for more, hey, we are doing Heart Masters, and that's going to be an initiation for better innovation that starts in the mind, in the language, in the way we approach to circulation, money, health, well-being, what is valuable, why we are here, who we are. What does it mean to be human from all the stardust and bacteria that we are carrying in our cells, and in the way that we shift the language and the way we think about what is good and bad, maybe, hey, this is all an invitation to do things better, for us to wake up, like Amy wrote in her message, the Trojan horses that we can become, new words for the new world, because we are creating the world as we are speaking. Like a mother gets pregnant and you don't wait to give birth to call yourself and take the divine responsibility of being a mother until you hold the baby in your arms. It just starts like that when the soul chooses you. You start taking care of yourself, the way you speak, the way you eat, the way you act. You reorganize your room, your house, and everyone around you. I have mothers who says, Janai, I'm choosing my community to raise my children. So why not to choose the divine responsibility, the initiation that we received as humanity, that this is the new earth that we are birthing as us, through us. And we don't need to wait anyone to give us, grant us the right, because the earth said it's right here, right now. Thank you so much for everyone for being here. What I would like to say, because there was another beautiful message, I think it was by Anders, choosing love-based modes over fear-based modes. And like Marc was also sharing, maybe they are just together. In our session, the intelligence session, when we were talking about the love language for AI, Lorana said, it's so beautiful, I would like to quote her. She said, there is love and longing for love. And maybe we stop thinking what is right and wrong, but we notice when there is longing for love, we go the opposite way. So with that, I would like to invite you to circulate your thoughts, because this is the only thing that blocks us. And if there is any restriction in your thoughts saying that it's not going to happen, it's impossible, I invite you to remember that we are all stardust, and you can watch the replay of this session, the beautiful introduction, and you can always find that circulation in your breath. It's that as close as like that, or maybe kneel down and hold the soil in your hand and just be curious what a universe, what a galaxy is hidden. And we are still trying to figure out how that is all happening with quantum computers. But yeah, maybe it's just about to enjoy it and to be grateful for it. And maybe we are going to be given the right to also one day to perceive it in this divine intelligence that is circulating through us. Thank you so much, Marc, for participating today and sharing part of your wisdom and your experience with us. Everybody, thank you for your time, your attention, that sacred attention. I really appreciate. If you have more questions, insights, feel free to use our mighty networks to share that, because I really believe when seeds are planted, they happen to blossom after. So it's always the juicy part for me. This is just the beginning. And please remember, it's all in your mind and in your words, in your actions. How we open the path with the right questions is how it continues. This is how we circulate life by being human. Thank you so much. The recording will be available after Amy edits it.
I don't think anything too bad was said at all. Matter of fact, I said Trumpocalypse quite a bit. You know, it's this beautiful, lovely evolutionary process, and I want you, just as a final thought, and I don't want to be a bummer for anybody. All life is about that evolution and how we want to live life on Earth, and in a world, and I hope you know that our world is growing at an exponential pace every single day. In a world that is growing in an exponential manner, if you only improve incrementally as a person or as an organization, and you don't take that natural instinct of evolving and trying to better life and create life, you're only falling behind exponentially.
Mm.
Because the world does not stop. If you think about how fast our Earth is spinning and traveling through the cosmos, the galaxy, that in and of itself is exponential. But all life on Earth is growing exponentially. So please evolve, unlock that quantum leap that I discussed to you through symbiosis and regeneration, and you will keep pace with life on Earth. And guess what? It's so much fun. You're healthy, happy, you don't get jet lag, you don't have all the problems that are out there. You only see the possibilities of abundance of the life you create. You're never going to find a Garden of Eden. You're never going to find the perfect place, because you need to be the steward of this earth, because you crawled out of this earth and you need to regenerate every place.
Mm.
Make it beautiful, make it loving.
Thank you, Marc.
Thank you.
Talking about regenerating wherever you are. Next week, we are going to be with Dr. Zach Bush on Wednesday, and it's going to be at 5 p.m., 3 hours earlier than our regular sessions. And it's going to be about RX4, the nutrition code. And I hope you are enjoying my newsletters. This Sunday, it's going to be all about nutrition, building up and beyond with this conversation. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening, great afternoon, and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.